Well, good morning, Cam.
Good day, sir. How are you, Mitch?
I am doing well. I spent the morning on a call with a friend of mine, and then right after that, I started digging into some new stuff that we can do on YouTube.
Ooh,
and so I started a Inner Dialogue channel on YouTube rather than posting to my personal channel. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I am still in the I don't know how to put it exactly. I'm kind of in the verification hell of trying to get permissions to do live streaming and other things. I'm also working on, they have a feature where you can add your RSS feed for the podcast, and it auto generates all your podcasts into the channel.
Well, when did they start doing that?
They just started doing that recently, and I found out about it because the ATP, or Accidental Tech Podcast, is doing that on their channel now. So they've got like 500 some episodes, almost 600 episodes that they threw their RSS feed in there, and it just generated. Basically, it used their album cover, for the video, and then has the audio there. And
holy cow, yeah, that's awesome.
So
I used to manually post my other podcasts on YouTube, and it was awful.
What I'm really hoping for, fingers crossed, is that it brings in my custom album art as well.
Yeah, so that would be awesome,
because that would be a lot of fun.
That is a feature of the show.
That is definitely a feature of the show for the half a dozen people that listen.
You know, they get awesome artwork.
So. And it really takes me literally like 15 minutes on at the most to throw those together. So, but it's fun to do, and I like doing it.
Well, I appreciate that you do that.
Yeah. I don't really have any other business outside of that. Once I have that up and going, I'll make sure that there's a link on innerdialogue.show. So if people want to go to the YouTube channel, they can do that. I'm going to have to do some finessing. It's really early days. Literally, I opened the account this morning. So once I have that a little bit more fully featured and ready to go, I'll make sure there's a link on innerdialogue.show so y'all can check it out. And I am going to
like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell if you don't. 2024 style.
Yep. So, along with that, I want to look at live streaming our shows. We've played with that before, and it was kind of hit or miss. And because we do the show on Zoom, and because bandwidth is limited, I think it did cause a little bit of delay last time that we did it. So it may not be something that we end up doing long term, but it's something that I definitely want to play with and see what we can do. So. Anyway, so I gained a point and I didn't lose any points, but I gained a point and didn't get my 2 points for the Buck Wild pick.
Yeah.
So
your lack of faith in our football teams was treated appropriately, Mitch.
So if you don't pay attention to the NFL, the Packers did lose last week to the San Francisco 49ers. No regrets, though. I mean, it really came down to a
great game,
a field goal, and it could have gone either way because that whole game was going back and forth. So it was a fun game to watch. I got no regrets. The Packers got a lot
even considering
further.
Where you guys started the season.
Yeah, we got a lot further. The fact
that you would have been playing the second round of the playoffs, that's an absolute success based on where you guys started and what the expectations were going into the season, right?
It's an absolute win for us.
Yeah.
You know, it would have been great to go to the Super Bowl, but
the Packers have success. It's so annoying.
Yep. And we might have a third Hall of Fame quarterback. So
okay, let's pump the brakes. Let's pump the brakes on Hall of Fame.
All right,
he's good.
Potential.
Yes, he's
good.
Potential.
All right, but the big story: Lions are still in. They're going to the NFC Championship game. Is that tomorrow?
It's tomorrow night.
Sunday?
Yeah, the AFC is the afternoon game. The NFC is the night game. So they're playing those same 49ers in the NFC Championship game after knocking off the Rams and the Bucks in the first 2 rounds. And holy crap, it's the second time they've been in the NFC Championship game ever.
Yep.
And the last time was 1991. I was a little 5-year-old boy.
And I think they got a legitimate shot. You know, it all depends on.
Well, I would say they have a fighter's chance.
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco's defense is really good.
Yeah.
And Detroit's defense is not really good.
Okay.
Of the 4 teams left, they have the worst defense without question. But you know, it's the NFL.
Anything
Any
can
given
happen.
Sunday, anybody can win, right? That's the whole deal. So I'm definitely watching the game, obviously.
Right.
But I said this, I think, on the show earlier. Like, after Michigan won the national championship, this is all just bonus football.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll take whatever happens. I'll be happy with the fact that the fact that we won the division was the season. We won the division. Anything after that is just ice. And then Michigan wins the national championship. So this is just, I get to watch my team one more time. And if they lose by 70, I won't be mad, because we made the NFC championship game. This is so much more than anyone expected this season. We were expecting to compete for the division this year. That's the part of the rebuild we were in.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that Green Bay started off slow. Kirk Cousins missed the back half of the season because he had an awful injury, so stuff fell in our favor. I mean, we still finished 12-5. That's a really good record. But the Vikings and the Packers gave us an early lead in the division because of a poor start or a quarterback injury. This is all just extra bonus. I get to see my guys one more time,
Mm-hmm.
And if we win, holy crap, we make the Super Bowl for the first time ever, which is just wild to think about. And if we lose, we had an incredible year with no regrets, just absolute progress for a team that has been anywhere from below average to awful for the last ever. So, so I'm pumped. I'm excited for the game tomorrow, regardless of what happens. I'm going to watch them and root them on. And if we win by 70 or lose by 70, I'm just going to be happy because of the progress that the organization and the team has made. That's my stance on it.
Yep. And what do you think of the AFC? I think the Ravens are.
It's the Ravens for sure.
Okay.
The Ravens are too good.
So
because the Lions played both the Chiefs and the Ravens this year, we played the Chiefs week 1 in Kansas City and beat them.
Yeah.
And it was the Monday night game of the first week, defending Super Bowl champs, bringing in the lovable Lions, and we beat them on their home turf.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens beat us 30-6.
Yeah.
We didn't score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And that was week 8 or week 9 or something.
Yeah.
After the Lions were on a streak and absolutely put us in the ground.
Yeah.
And that's twofold. The Ravens defense is scary good. And the defensive coordinator for the Ravens was the defensive coordinator at Michigan. He worked for the Ravens as an assistant, then went to Michigan for 2 years, and then came back to the Ravens as the defensive coordinator. Awesome coach. Really knows the stuff. But also, it was twofold. Their defense is stupid good, and the Lions cannot defend a mobile quarterback. And Lamar Jackson is the epitome of a mobile quarterback. So let me put it this way. If the Lions pull off the upset and beat the 49ers, I'd much rather see Kansas City in the Super Bowl than Baltimore. But Baltimore is the team to beat.
Yeah. All right. Are we making a
sports?
Are we making a Super Bowl championship pick right now?
I mean,
out of the 4 teams that are left, do they have the best shot at the Ravens have the best shot at winning?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think I agree with you.
Yeah, and what's funny is if the 49ers and the Ravens play each other, it's a matchup of the 2012-2013 season, and that's when Jim Harbaugh was the coach of the 49ers against his brother. It was the Hard Bowl because his brother John Harbaugh is the Baltimore Ravens coach. And now Harbaugh, he has left Michigan, and he's now coaching the LA Chargers. So we'll never have a Harbaugh on Harbaugh Super Bowl because both those teams are in the AFC, but we may have a Harbaugh versus Harbaugh AFC Championship game in the near future. If, of course, he can turn things around in LA, but we'll see.
Right on. All right. Sports ball. Everybody loves it.
Sports ball. Running down the field, scoring a basket. Sports ball. With our squadron of teammates, we're gonna hit a touchdown.
So my wife comes to me the other day. She's like, "When does spring training start?" I'm like, "Yeah, we may a month away, maybe." So anyway, I'm getting excited for baseball already. I have a question for you. There's been a bunch of advertising for it, and I'm kind of interested to see, since we were just talking about football. Yes. The USFL and the XFL have joined forces now to be the UFL.
Yes, the United Football League.
So there is now spring football.
Yeah, spring just got stronger, Mitch. Let's go.
So what do you think?
So I watched random USFL and XFL games last spring, just because it's nice to have sports on the TV occasionally. And I'm also not a baseball fan, so
yeah,
having something that isn't baseball is nice to watch. I think them combining is really smart because I think having two spring leagues is just a stupid idea.
And this is almost an NFC AFC kind of situation too, where they're combining.
Exactly. Yeah. Having two spring leagues is just dumb. Because neither was going to make enough money on their own and get enough viewership, get enough, brand retention, all that sort of stuff to survive long term. So by combining and eliminating the competition and just making it one deal, you're getting all the eyeballs in the USFL, all the eyeballs in the XFL, all into one bucket, one brand, one TV deal, all that sort of stuff. It's just smarter.
And you're basically doubling the number of teams that are involved.
No, they're not though. They're not doubling the number of teams. Some teams are not going to exist.
Oh, okay.
So that also would have been not a great idea. So they're combining, very smart. They're lessening the number of total teams, also very smart. So some of the markets that were in the USFL and some of the markets that were in the XFL will no longer exist. They're not going to bring. It's not going to be a 16-team league. I think it's only going to be 8 or 10.
Okay.
So they're being smart in that way too, of not diluting the product, or stretching expenses and that sort of stuff. But each league had a different model. Where like one of the leagues, all the teams were like the Michigan Panthers and the Arlington whatevers, but they all played their games in Birmingham.
Okay.
Whereas the other league, they had like 4 host cities. And so like one weekend, all the teams were in Dallas. One weekend, all the teams were in DC. One weekend, all the teams were in Atlanta. So I don't know what the model is going to look like as far as where the games are played for the new league. But again, I think they're merging. They're keeping the teams to a reasonable number, at least for the first season. It's smart. The unified branding, the one TV, like it makes way more sense for it to be done this way. Instead of having 2 fledgling leagues trying to fight it out and see which is the stronger of the 2 weekend. You know what I mean?
The rules are different too.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see, what rules from which league are kept and which rules from, which league are not.
I always thought
because they had like different like kickoff rules and punt return ruals and I like the fact that they're experimenting with that sort of stuff to see what's better for the game, what's safer for the players, what expedites game time, and to see which, if any of those rules ever bubble up to the NFL.
Yeah, because I thought it was really genius the way they did the extra points in the XFL, I think, where you could kick for 1 point. You could do a 2-point conversion. I think there was a 3-point that was further out from the end zone. Yep. Was there a 5-point one too?
I don't think
maybe
so.
It was just
I think it was just 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, so you had more options as far as extra points were concerned, and I think it really changed the strategy of the game a bit. Yeah, and so it was anything like that where you can play with the strategy. You can. I think it was interesting. So.
Yeah, well, and then I mean, if you go for the 3-point and get it, that's a 9-point total score, right? Which totally makes games closer in theory. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're down by 18, that's no longer a 3-score game. That's a 2-score game.
Right.
If you can hit the 3-point, and that just changes the way that you call the game, the way that you manage the clock. Like it does have an impact. Well, even if the 3-point conversion is hard to get.
Yeah, I know with the XFL last year, there were a couple of games like that where teams were down by a lot of points. Mm-hmm. And they came back and won the game on 3-point conversions and stuff like that. So it's a cool idea, and I like it. I like to see them play with that. So
yeah. Even if my Lions get blown up by 70 on Sunday, I have the Michigan Panthers to root for in the spring.
And that's a struggle. Honestly, that's a struggle that I had too, was looking at the teams, and it was hard to kind of get behind any of the teams because I don't know. I think there was a team out of Chicago. Oh, was it like the Chicago Enforcers or something like that?
I think they were the USFL team. Yeah, the XFL team was the Michigan Panthers in our area. I think I could be wrong. It's been a whole year. I don't really remember.
So it was one of those things, or no, it was the St. Louis was the closest team, I think.
Oh, gross. We don't root for anything from St. Louis.
No. Are you crazy? No, but it was like, what was it, the Battlehawks or something like that? I don't remember.
Yeah, the team names and logos aren't great. I'll be honest.
And that was the thing, is that's kind of what I look for too, is who's doing something innovative and interesting, because certainly it's not happening in the NFL a whole lot, so because I have wanted to see some of these teams take more risks with their jersey selections and having more fun with the look of the team.
I think that's funny coming from a Packers fan. You've had the same 100%. Jerseys for 400 years.
Oh no, that's exactly why I'm saying it, because those jerseys have not changed in a very long time.
Yeah,
and I would love to see them do. What does a future jersey look like instead of what does a throwback jersey look like? We know what they look like. Let's try something fun and different and unique. Yeah.
I would love to see a Packers jersey where the helmet is green and the jersey is yellow, just to piss off the old guard.
Oh, just screw people.
The Lions jerseys are silver helmets, Honolulu blue lion on the side, white or blue, but they made blue helmets with an updated logo on the side that look really cool.
Yeah.
So I'm all for teams changing things up a bit.
Yeah. When I first started doing graphic design, one of the projects that I assigned myself, because I just wanted to try something, was what would a really interesting Packers jersey look like? And I don't think I have this file anymore, so I couldn't show it to you. But one of the things that I toyed with was, what if we took the stripe that was across the top of the helmet and actually put it across the shoulders? So it went from one sleeve to the other, and it went across the back, so that you had basically white across the top of the jersey. You had a green or yellow line that kind of went around that, and then a green or yellow line, whatever's opposite of the inner line, around that. And then the rest of the jersey would be white or would be yellow or would be green, and it was just a fascinating, a very interesting way to kind of look at the jersey and how the jersey would look if you really played with the colors and the structure of the jersey. Because I really like the stripe across the shoulder as a thing. And I have the throwback jersey of the blue and yellow jersey from the Acme Packers that has the yellow shoulder stripe. So because I really like that look, I think it's cool. So, but anyway, We do have a show today to do today. So
yeah, but the summary of that story is that Mitch didn't get 2 points for his Buck Wild pick. Let's just make sure everyone remembers that.
Yep. It was an anti-pick. I didn't think either one of our teams, because I really, when it comes down to it, nobody expected the Packers to do a whole lot. Let's be honest there. And secondly, I really saw that it seemed like the Lions were on a downswing coming towards the end of the season, and I kind of thought that they would peter out as they got into the playoffs. No offense to Lions fans or you, sir, but it really looked like we were probably not going to see the Lions get too far into the playoffs. And I thought it was a fairly safe pick. Apparently not. So, but I'm excited to
fight another day.
You know, it's one of those things where I'm happy to be wrong about it. You know. So, but anyway. All right. Well, we need to get into our main topic for the show today. We're going to talk about, we'll say, health in a sense, but I think you guys will kind of get into what we're talking about here as we kick off the show. So we're not exactly sure where this is going to go, so it should be fun. So, all right. Well, Cam, you came up with the kind of a general idea for a topic today, and I'm totally on board. So go ahead and kind of introduce your premise for the topic, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. So we were trying to figure out what we're going to talk about, and I've made a couple changes in my life in regards to diet, and also my use of technology, screens, and that sort of stuff. And so what I've landed on is, so I've been doing intermittent fasting for like 2.5 weeks. And so that means I eat in between the hours of 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. And that's it. I don't eat outside of that. So I have an 8-hour window to consume calories. So it's not just food, it's also drink, right? And then I just don't do anything in between 7 p.m. and 11 a.m. as far as that goes. But then also with regards to screen time, I don't use the screen an hour before bedtime. So that means if I'm in bed at 10, so it's 3. So like I try to not eat 3 hours before bed. So when I stop eating or consuming calories at 7, that sets me up for a 10 p.m. bedtime. But the other part is, so no food 3 hours before bed, no screens at all, computers, iPads, phones, whatever, an hour before bed. So from 9 to 10, I'm living an analog life, which means I've been reading a lot more, which is fabulous. Like I'm halfway through the first book of the Lord of the Rings, and it's great. I'm like, holy cow, I forgot how much wasn't in the movies. This is awesome to remember, because I read the books a bunch when I was younger. But getting to read fiction before bed is good. And I'm trying to read I'll read some theology for 20 minutes. And then I set myself up with fiction for the rest to help my brain kind of come down and give my brain room to relax and enjoy a story and escape, to a different world or whatever. So yeah, that's the basic premise, right? Is just a set time for food, 11 to 7. So I get in a lunch and after, and I'm not trying to eat 3 meals there. I'm trying to eat 2 meals, lunch and dinner, but I'll have a light afternoon snack, heavy on vegetables and fresh stuff. And it's working. I was down a belt hole in the first week, which is great. And I feel a lot better. I wake up so much more refreshed, even if I struggle to fall, it's been a struggle to fall asleep that early. Cause I've always been a late night guy, up to midnight, 1 o'clock. So this whole 10 o'clock bedtime thing is really starting to throw me for a loop. But I know it's better for me because I'm getting more sleep. I'm not up as late. I feel way more refreshed in the morning. Even if it takes me an hour and a half to fall asleep, I still feel so much better when I wake up because I'm not up as late. And I'm in bed and I'm not on, my phone or whatever. So yeah, that plus just eating better, is great. And honestly, the whole intermittent fasting thing for me is not hard.
Yeah.
It really is not it's the struggle for me is the analog lifestyle. from 9 to 10. I want to watch a TV show, or I want to, it's like Friday, like last night I gave myself a pass and I was like, it's FNCS. I'm going to watch some Fortnite pros do their thing. But like, that's like the one night in the last 2.5 weeks that I've given myself you can stay up a little bit later and watch TV before bed, sort of deal. So I'm not, an absolute, I'm not militant about it, but for the most part, I would say that might be the only night that I've broken the screen rule in the last 2.5 weeks.
Well, I think that in relation to that, they oftentimes say in like dieting to have a day a week that is your cheat day, as long as you don't go crazy with it. That actually can help you burn calories more, to do that once. The trouble is not making every day cheat day.
Yeah.
Because that happens. But as long as you can be disciplined to stick to it, it works, to give yourself permission to do that every once in a while. So for sure.
Yeah.
And I think a word that we should enter into this conversation is stewardship. I think that for me, that's been a big thing. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show yet, but as far as themes go for the year, like one of my themes has been to live more deliberately, to not allow myself to just like, this is just what I always do, so I'm going to do it, but to be a little bit more deliberate with how I manage my time. I think time is a huge thing for me, at least. Giving myself permission to, what? I'm just going to sit down and watch a TV show right now. And be deliberate about it, but also be realistic about, I can't sit here and binge watch, 8 hours of my favorite show today. But to say, I'm going to give myself an hour. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to give myself permission to do this. And then I need to get up and go do something productive, or, I need to do some work for school, or I need to do this or that. It's managing that time more specifically. But I want to touch on the intermittent fasting thing real quick. I have tried intermittent fasting, and I think because of my work schedule, it's so hard. I tried to do a 12-12, and my wife and I were getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and having breakfast, which is something that we've changed this year. But we would be eating breakfast by 5:30 because my wife had to be to work early. So then I would spend all day trying to not overeat, because I had 300-400 calories for breakfast, and then the rest of the day trying to manage that my calorie count, and getting to and doing the 12-12. I'm done eating by 5 o'clock, and now I've got to manage from 5 till 9 not eating anything, and that was difficult because I work till 7. So my job is fairly physical. So for me to not be eating in the last 4 hours of my day was like, I'm starving by the time I'm going to bed at night. So it got to be really difficult for me. So it wasn't really working. One thing we did change this year is we stopped doing breakfast right away in the morning. So my wife works at a daycare center, and they do breakfast lunch at the daycare center. And one of their expectations is that they're supposed to sit and eat with the kids. That's something they're supposed to do. So she's like, I was having breakfast and then having another breakfast at work. Even though it was a little lighter in calories, she was having 2 breakfasts every day. So we dropped
like a good hobbit.
Yeah, we dropped the early morning breakfast. And now I'm just coming home from dropping her off at work and having a bowl of oatmeal and then trying not to be hungry until, I get to work. Because then when I get to work, I've got a little bit something to eat for my break, for my lunch, for my last break. It's usually not much more than 1,000 calories total for my whole work shift that I bring with me. So, and then having a little something when I get home at night, and just trying to keep clicked into that instead of continuing to add to that. You know what I mean? So one of the things that the class that I'm doing right now for my biblical counseling training is whole person ministry. And one of the things that we're actually going through is diet, and how diet can affect mental wellness. Mm-hmm. And so I'm realizing that I'm going to have to start incorporating more greens into my diet, more just different things into my diet that will help with a lot of things. Because this time of year, my brain is just foggy and gross. And, I struggle a lot with just kind of getting up in the morning and being awake all day. I feel tired a lot. I feel it's gray outside. And so it's really hard to be excited about being awake, so, but there's some things like one of the guys that I talked to at work was talking about adding a beet supplement into my diet that, cause beets are not only antioxidants, but they also have oxidizers in them that inject more oxygen into your blood and actually help you be awake, be alert, so I'm that's probably something I'm going to look at down the road a little bit. It's not something I'm prepared to do right now, but I have been trying to get more greens into my diet, eating a salad every day and just trying to do something like that. So definitely focusing on that health part of it. I've changed I've changed a little bit about how I've using my screens throughout the day. The trouble is I don't read books in paper. So for me to read before bed, I'm reading on an iPad. So that's not, you could argue that maybe I should just get myself a decent Kindle and read off of that. And maybe that wouldn't, cause that's not.
Get a library card and get an actual book, Mitch.
I don't like books. That's my biggest problem. That's why I never read growing up, is because I always found books to be clumsy. So I know they smell good, and I have books on the shelf behind me. I have books on the shelf behind me, and I do occasionally read out of these books, but to sit with a book in my lap and read is just like, it feels cumbersome. It feels, I don't know. It's not an experience that I enjoy. I know a lot of other people do, and I don't fault anybody for it. I just can't do it. So, but anyway, having a book reader that maybe doesn't have a backlight might be a good idea, but that's another thing. So, anyway.
You don't have to live by my rules, Mitch.
Well, another thing that my wife and I are looking at this year is just our financial health as well. Because, there's things that we need to pull back on. We need to not be spending as much money on. There's places where our money needs to go to help get some debt paid off and stuff like that. So that is definitely something that we're talking about and a focus that we're having this year. So.
Yeah, I think of the three, digital health, physical health, financial health is the least fun.
No, 100%.
It's the least fun.
And it can make the other two more difficult too, especially the physical health.
And yeah, so like digital health is easy, right? That's like instant return on investment. Mm-hmm. Physical health takes longer, but you can see results pretty quickly, depending on what you're doing, right? You're not going to overnight look like Mr. Universe, but like making, you can easily, even just by changing your diet and drinking way more water, you can lose some of the water that your body retains, and you're down 5 pounds in a week, right? Yeah. Now that's not every week. That happens once, but like you can, and you just feel better, right?
Yeah.
You get better sleep if you're eating healthier food. You just feel better. Your brain's less foggy. Your body responds better. And then there's the long-term goals of physical health that do take much longer to see, but the financial health one is like, I like the nice things and I like spending money, and if saving it doesn't give me anything until I need it 20 years down the road, like the return, not even on investment, but of like feeling good about it, like. You don't get a dopamine hit from like, oh, I just saved $5.
Right.
Some people do. I don't, right?
No, I don't at all.
I fully vested my 401k this year, all 5,000, whatever, like you can put in your IRA. It's like, that does not.
Yeah.
Should I be doing it? Abso-freaking-lutely. Is that the hardest of these three for me? 1000% yes.
Absolutely.
Because I would rather be like, oh, look, I got a new shiny toy, which does nothing long term. So
for me, it's been focus, as far as spending money, because you can't not spend money, otherwise you wouldn't eat and you wouldn't drive and you wouldn't, there's still money that needs to be spent. But for me, it's focusing on the things that I want, if that makes sense. There's still going to be wants, and there's still going to be things that you look at and you're like, that's a cool thing to have in my life. My Ember mugs, I don't need those, but
they are not cheap,
and they're not cheap. But looking at those, they bring a satisfaction to me in my life that, I don't need another mug. I will tell you, if I allowed myself to buy mugs, I would have closets full of mugs right now, because I have a problem. So you can ask my wife, anything that you can put stuff in, I have an obsession with. I am not a good person to go into the Container Store with. I've been there. I've been to 2 Container Stores, and it was bad because I wanted everything. So
Mitch is a hoarder, folks. You heard it here first.
But it's only containers. It's only like cute little, like
what's
clear,
your man purse collection like?
I don't have a man purse. I do. I have a bag. I will tell you, backpacks could be an issue for me if I allowed them to be, but that's something that's
like a good backpack.
Nope. I'm cutting it off at like plastic totes. I have totes in the shelving behind me here that I've just bought because I thought they were cool. But to a certain degree, you've got to have that kind of stuff, to store things. But it's like, I don't need to buy a $30 tote when I could just buy like a $10 tote to do the same thing. But that $30 tote is really cool. It does some cool things. I have a Husky.
Give you your horoscope. Like, what is a what's a cool thing that a $30 tote does?
The $30 tote that I got has a lid that when you pop open 3 sides of the lid, you can hinge it up on the other 2. And it's got it's indestructible, and it's got a nice clear lid so you can see everything that's inside of it. It's a very nice tote.
Tried to drive your Jeep over it yet?
No,
to test,
it won't
to test
survive
its
that.
indestructibility.
No, this is something that we sell at the store that I work at, and it's just, we were jumping up and down on these totes and they don't break. So,
all right, Mitch tested, Mitch approved.
Yep, I'm not a small guy either, so. All right. Anyway, so as far as digital health for me, I think that's maybe the one thing that I haven't really answered a ton of, because for me, it's been more how I use my devices as opposed to when I use my devices. So Instagram, I went into the screen time app or the screen time section of settings and just said, I get an hour of Instagram a day, and that's it. Like, because I could doom scroll Instagram all day long, but for me, like, I can't allow myself to do that, and so I have an hour limit on that. And if I spend an hour, man, it doesn't happen very often, but if I spend an hour on there, it's like, dude, you done. Go do something else.
Yeah, I've got mine set to 30 minutes, and I rarely come up against that.
I should probably reset it to 30 minutes, but.
Like, the only social media I have on my phone is Instagram. I don't have anything else.
Right.
I haven't been on Twitter in years. I check Facebook once a month on the browser on my phone just to make sure that, like, one of my aunts hasn't sent me something that, you know what I mean? I haven't, like, I don't do TikTok, like, none of, and even, like, more and more, I'm finding, like, I don't want to be on any of it. And maybe that makes me sound like an old man, and I'm fine with that because I like books and I want elbow patches on all my sweaters. I'm not even kidding. And so, yeah, like, I find, like, there's like 4 people I want to see on Instagram, and they're just friends that I no longer live near.
Yeah.
and like that's it. And if I don't see one of their stories without even scrolling, just like the first 5 that show up, or like in the first 3 posts, I'm like, all right, great, I'm done. I checked Instagram for the day, I'm out. Yeah. it doesn't. There's so many ads and so much stuff that like, oh, we think you'll like this. You don't know me. Right. You don't know what I like.
The terrible thing about that is a lot of times they're not wrong, because everything they advertise to me is something and I end up wanting. And a lot of the suggested follows, I would say they get me right about half the time.
Yeah. I just see like, suggested or an ad, and I'm just like, I just don't even just scroll. I'm like, you don't get my attention.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm at the point now in my life where I would rather text or actually have a phone call or meet in person with my friends, than see what they're doing on social media.
Yeah.
Because I know if I actually talk with them, I'm going to get the real story. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
what's actually going on.
We may have talked about this a while back, but I think the older I get, the more I realize that talking to people actually is very satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's almost like one of the things we were built to do,
right?
Enjoy and designed for, actual interaction
and all the
communion with each other,
and all the people that are on Facebook that like really care about the fact that you friend them aren't your friends.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not calling you, if they're not engaging with you, if they're not there when you're having a rough day, they're not your friend.
Well, and it's how true is this of the human condition, right? That we all desperately want to be known and seen. And yet at the same time, we all want to put up this facade that everything is okay and that
right.
we got it all figured out.
Mm-hmm.
And so social media serves that purpose of we can put up that facade, we can tell people everything's fine, and we get the false sense of being known and seen how we want to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
And yet at the same time, everyone's drastically unhappy because they don't have any actual real, true behind the scenes friendships where you can just be your dirty, broken self and just say, this is me. I need people to help me, get through, 1, being me, 2, the crap that life throws at you. Right. And so honestly, I look at this, from my Christian perspective, and I'm just like, you're getting the tip of the iceberg with all this stuff. There's so much more to personal relationship with each other, but also with the God that made you the way that you are.
Right.
There's just so much more to be had. And all you have to do is let your guard down and just say, this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And there are parts of me that I don't like because I am a broken person and I am selfish and whatever, you know what I mean? And there's so much freedom in finally admitting that to yourself,
and
then having people in your life that are like, yeah, me too.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Yeah. Ruin the moment, stupid Mac OS, whatever, Sonoma.
So those were, I turned off my reactions for the video, but yeah, he was just counting and he put his thumb up and he got a thumbs up on the screen. So that was pretty funny.
I have it on for my work meetings because most of my coworkers have Windows PCs. And so I like to brag about the fun things that my, computer does for me, and it backfired there.
So I was, we'll get back to this. I promise. But, I was on, the training. Nice. I was on the training, that I do for the biblical counseling, and I opened up my mic and I started sharing something about the book that we'd read, or the chapter we'd read for the week before. And I looked at him and I says, there's just like 2 things that really caught me. And right away, balloons started coming up out of the screen. I'm like,
wait, that's what gets the balloons going?
Yeah.
2 fingers?
2 fingers. Yep.
Really?
It's supposed to be like the peace sign. Yeah. But anyway, there you go.
Oh, there it goes. Yeah. Nice.
So, but then I was like, okay, hold on. So I went in and turned off the reaction. I was like, okay, that won't happen again. And then I continued making my point. But anyway, so getting back to what you're saying, I think that an interesting experiment to do would be like, rather than having social media on your phone, have like the Bible available. And I know that sounds really cheesy to a lot of people, but what if you just went and read a chapter of the Bible instead of going on Instagram and, flipping through funny jokes and dumb videos and, like there's nothing really of value on Instagram outside of just taking up my time. It's entertaining, but that's really the extent of it. So what if we like did something like that for a while and experimented with it? I don't know. Might be worth it.
You mean like having your Bible in your dock on your phone? Crazy thought.
Well, I have Instagram buried right now, but I still find it.
Fair point.
But at any rate. But yeah, I think when we boil everything down to our digital health, our physical health, financial health, the way we spend our time, I think that all has to be encapsulated within like what does our spiritual health look like? And that's something that if we're not focusing on that on top of all of this stuff, like we're missing the point.
Agreed. It is important.
Yeah. So, something that I've really desired to do this year is to be able to stay in the spirit. And when you look at a lot of what Paul talks about, pitting the flesh against the spirit, and the flesh not being your body, but being your sin nature, and being able to, Watchman Nee talks a lot in The Spiritual Man about how irredeemable the flesh is, and how we have to kill it. Like there's no like playing with the flesh or giving the flesh a little bit of time or whatever. He's like, no, you kill the flesh. There's nothing else you can do with the flesh. And in killing the flesh, we choose the spirit. We replace it with spending time with God, and spending time in Scripture and praying, and making sure that we start our day out with that, and we stick with it. I mean, the flesh is always going to rear its head, and we're never going to be perfect. And I think to your point about we're just a mess, but we try to put this facade on. I think that's one thing that I've learned over the last year is that it's okay for me to be a mess. As long as I lean into God and I stay in the spirit, like it's okay for me to be kind of a mess sometimes. And my wife can attest to that, that sometimes I'm just a mess, and I'm willing to admit it. The guys in my Bible study, I'm probably the one person in the Bible study that's like I just have issues. Like I struggle, and hopefully that speaks to them too, even though they're not willing to talk about their struggles as much, but anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's, what's the right way to say this? Like in acknowledging reality, there is benefit, right? Like just acknowledging, I'm a broken dude. I've got issues. My nature is to sin. I don't want to do it. It pisses me off. I hate when it happens.
Yep.
But like fundamentally, I was born into it. I've grown up in it. I have built habits, right? But even just having that honest assessment and relationship to yourself is so much more healthy than, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't have a problem. I don't do what they do. Like I haven't murdered anybody, like it's so much more healthy and grounding. Just like, I'm a broken guy. There's a reason Jesus had to die.
Yeah.
I'm a big part of it. And that is not about guilt or shame. It's about acknowledging reality and then also acknowledging, but because Jesus did die for what I've done, I am now redeemed and righteous and set apart and adopted and an heir to heaven. God sees me as he sees Jesus. And so in the admitting, in the acceptance of our current reality, we are also at the exact same time accepting our eternal reality of how God sees us and what is in store. And so it is not at all a self-deprecating, beating up of oneself. It's acknowledging reality in total. This is true of me today because of what I've done and who I am. But this is also true of me for eternity. Right. And so in acknowledging that, in admitting that, in accepting it, and it's not just you're a broken person. It's that plus you're a redeemed child of God. And so you open yourself up to full reality, and it's just such a better place to be.
Yeah.
Than faking it in every possible way.
Right.
So that's where I'm at with all
that. No, 100%. I'm sitting here because I don't really have anything to add.
Just give me the yes. Give me the Grogu yes.
Yep.
Yes. All right, we can move on.
I think, well, if there was anything that I would add to that is, I think a lot of people look at the church and say that, oh, well, they're holier than thou, or they're perfect, or they think they're perfect. Now, I understand, I don't go to a church like that. I think there are a lot of churches that can be like that. But mine isn't like that. We're all a bunch of wrecks that are there to worship Jesus and understand that, we are a mess and we need his help. But there's something that my pastor has a tendency to say every so often where he's like, yeah, the church isn't for healthy people. It's for sick people. This is, he equates the church to a spiritual hospital, and it's like, if you're here because you think you're perfect, you're not in the right place. It's, we're here for the sick people. We're here for the hurting people, the people that need help and acknowledge that they need help. So. Yeah. So anyway.
Professional transition. Ready? Go.
What's delighting you today, Cam?
Well, since we've been talking about church, I am now a member at the church that I have been a part of for the last 6 months. I went through a 10-week process to get an 8-week discovering the church class, and then a 2-week join class, and then had my interview with the elders last Sunday, with 2 of the elders. And then tomorrow, along with 39 other people, so 40 total, we're all going to be introduced as members to the church tomorrow during second service. So, it's not so this is like the culmination of I want to be here. I've gone through the things I need to go through to prove that I want to be here. But to me, this is it's more significant in the sense that this sort of is like the cherry on top of I've found my place up here.
Right.
Having moved, having not known anybody up here, save for my daughter and her mom, right? Which is a whole other deal. But having a place that is my place now, and is we are mutually in this together. Not that we haven't been, but now it's official, right? And so there is something for becoming a member of the church is not a small deal, right? It's important. It signifies a change in relationship. It signifies a change in intent. It signifies a change in, relationship connectivity, that sort of stuff. So for me, it really is just like the cherry on top of I knew this was my place. I've gotten involved. I'm in a small group. I serve in the worship band and just do stuff with the men's ministry. Gotten really involved. But this to me is just like, okay, now we are committed to each other in that sense. The church is committed to me. I'm committed to the church. That sort of stuff. So I'm excited. I'm already technically a member. But tomorrow is the yay, everybody welcome. There's going to be 40 people on stage. Yeah. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. How big is the church, if I can ask?
So we have 2 services, and the sanctuary holds just shy of 600. But it's probably 2/3 full, both services. So I would say 800 people on a Sunday.
Okay.
Between the 2 services. So not small, not gigantic, very much I see people every week that I'm like, oh, they must be new here, or they just go to the other service. Right. Yeah. But like when I'm playing, I play both services. So but it's a good sized church.
Yeah.
In that regard. Like my lady friend's church has like 70 people total. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Mm-hmm. It's just a totally different experience.
Yeah.
Right. When you're at a church that small, there's no wallflowers, right? Mm-hmm. Which frankly, I think is a good thing.
Yeah.
It's really easy to hide at churches my size or bigger, and not be involved and, not engage and that sort of stuff. So
our church is right about 300 people, I think, that come either live streamed or in person right now. And I don't know what the membership totals are. It's probably 1/3 to half of that. So,
that sort of ratio is pretty standard.
Yeah.
Right.
No, and it's good. I like a smaller church like that. I mean, the studies have shown that you really only can actively engage with about 250 people at a time. Like your brains don't function beyond that. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of studies done when social media will start getting really big about, the capacity of what the human brain can handle. And about 250 people is about the total. So, when you're looking at a church that starts to grow bigger than that, you still can't engage with everybody, but knowing names, knowing a little bit about everybody, that's something that your brain kind of has a limit on. So,
yeah, for sure. So so that's what's delighting me is just getting further integrated in my church. So What about you, sir?
Well, first off, I'm really delighted by our episode today. It was a good talk, and I really appreciate it. I have, we talked a little bit about financial health and finding ways to save money, and I have been a big user of iZotope's software, their plugins for audio and video editing apps, and all their stuff is audio stuff. And so much of their stuff is focused around music creation. Mm-hmm. And so when they came out with their latest plugin that they call VEA, VEA, Voice Enhancement Assistant, their focus was really on how do we take some of the best or some of the most used different plugins that we offer, put them into a package that's super easy to use for someone who's not real, like they're not worried about compression ratios and thresholds and, the attack and the release and all the things that you need to know to be able to use a compression software. Putting limiters on and, auto leveling and all this kind of stuff that you can do with, like, say, Nectar from iZotope. But how can we make this really simple and really easy and this is one of the first plugins I think that I've ever seen them say, hey, this is a good one for podcasters, because it gives you 3 dials. It gives you a dial called clean, a dial called shape, and a dial called boost. And what it does is the clean dial helps you to clean up, like, you know, a little background noise. So if you've got a fan running in the background or something like that, you can dial that dial to kind of get rid of that fan noise. That's clean. What was the middle one again? Shape. So shape helps you, like, as I turn the dial, you know, it brings out more low end, a little bit more high end. Or if you turn down the dial, it brings it down a little bit. It helps you to shape the voice in a way that is pleasing to your ear. And then your boost is kind of where the compression comes in. So you can turn up the audio or the voice, but it also at the same time is compressing it and helping to make sure that it's not boosting it too loud. And it does a really nice job of that. Now, before you do all of that, you play a little bit of audio into the app, and it gives you the cool little, like, wavy line and then the little circle-y thing, and it uses the AI to say, here's what we suggest that you do with this. And then you can make your fine adjustments after that. So it starts with the AI process to suggest something for you. But then
this is pleasing to my robot ears. Yep. You should like it too.
So it does that, and then you can manipulate that, but it also has presettings that you can do too. So if you have, like, you and I are both listeners to Connected, right? You listen to the Connected podcast. You can actually take and say, hey, you know what? Here's a podcast that I like, and I like the way they sound. And it uses those profiles. I think you have to put those profiles in to one of their other apps. I'm not sure.
Does that mean it can give me an Italian accent?
No. But what it does is it looks at how the audio is shaped and everything. And then we'll suggest that as how you, I'd have to look and see if VIA actually allows you to put those profiles in there somehow. I've used, I think Nectar allows you to do that. So I kind of got that into VIA through Nectar, but it gives you some presets that you can use, and then you can add more if you want to later. But it's a really cool little tool. It's $29.99, which for iZotope is ridiculously cheap.
Super cheap, yeah.
Because the version of Nectar that I was using, I'm using it in a subscription plan, so I never paid this, but I'm using Nectar Advanced through the music production suite, and to buy that is $1,200. So to give you some kind of idea, like what I'm saving, you know, rather than spending $20 a month on the music production suite, I bought VIA for $30, and it works really nice for what I need it for, because I don't need all the features that a lot of these apps have. And then I also
putting out Grammys here, folks.
Right. I also deal with at the church. I deal with some interference in our signal at the church that I filter out. I also, if they ever get back to me about this podcast, I'm supposed to be doing editing for, which they haven't. If I ever end up doing that, I'm going to need an app for handling de-reverbing and denoising and stuff like that. So the RX app that they offer is one that I've used quite extensively for stuff like that. And they offer that app, full price is $99.99. When I went on the website, and I don't know if it's because I purchased something into this already and they gave me a better deal, but I just bought it for $20, the Essential suite for RX, because each of their plugins have different levels that you can buy. So I just got the Essential suite for the RX app, And so for $50, I'm replacing a $20 a month subscription. And so that, to me, that's a long-term saving.
Soon.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
very nice.
And I think that should do it. Cause like this podcast, I'll probably run through via, if not our individual voices, just do a pass at the end. But that will help. Cause I usually do that with Nectar and RX, just to denoise and to shape our voices and stuff and make everything sound a little bit more even. After I do the match loudness and in Adobe Audition, it running it through a few processors actually helps. So, but yeah. So iZotope's Via comes highly recommended for me if you're doing podcasts and just basic audio work. And you're not going to probably get a lot out of it if you're using the advanced version of Nectar and using a lot of like the specific things for doing music production, or you're doing video production where you need to get real fiddly with the audio. But for just general podcasting and stuff like that, it's a great plugin. I really like it.
Duly noted.
Coco. So yeah, and we talked about my my Ember travel mug last time. I got the little insert for my car, the charger. I sunk that into the cup holder and plugged it in, and man, it's been a game changer. It's really helping me out, because that battery gives me about 90 minutes by itself, and having that charger in the car like really extends the battery life nice. So I'm
just gonna start calling you Ember. That's your new gamer tag, Mitch. It's Ember.
I like it. I got 2 Ember mugs that really do the trick for me now, and I've got one water bottle that I really like that does a good job for me, and that's pretty much all I need. And now I don't have to continue buying mugs and water bottles and all that garbage to try and make myself happy. I have what I need.
Happiness is a warm mug, right? We can change the Beatles quote to make it a little less violent. Yes, happiness is a warm mug.
And I spent a little bit extra on the copper version of the Ember mug last year because I just love copper. It's good. And you know what? It's crazy because it's copper in it, it doesn't actually get that dirty. And when it does get dirty, it's really easy to wash out.
Does it not taste like copper though?
No, not at all.
It just looks like it?
Just looks like it.
Like you like your coffee with the aftertaste of penny. Interesting.
Doesn't taste like it at all. I think if it is real copper, it's coated, but it might just be colored copper.
Yeah,
it's a metal cup.
It's not.
It is.
I would imagine it's not actual copper though, because copper tarnishes, right, and has that funky taste and makes your hands smell like it. Like I have this brass pen right here. It's beautiful, but it makes my hands smell like brass. Yeah, which is not my favorite.
Yeah, copper also is insanely expensive. So,
which is funny because it's that's what we make pennies out of.
Yeah, no, copper is expensive. Our pennies now don't have that much copper in them anymore.
Enough to smell like it.
Oh no!
Anyways,
the outside of it's copper, but anyway, yeah. All right. Do you have anything you wanted to add for our show today?
Go Lions!
Go Lions for sure. I'll be rooting right along with you.
I had one quick story, and then It's Lions related. I was on a group call with like 8 other people the other day at work. Actually yesterday. And it was one of those meetings where like, shoot, we're going to finish early. Does anyone, have anything? And in that moment, everyone's saying, no one say anything, just end the call. So I had to be that guy. I was like, well, actually, and I was like, I expect everyone to be rooting for the Lions on Sunday. And then one of my coworkers was like, yeah, man, I think everyone in America is rooting for the Lions. And one of the guys that I was on the call that I know, he lives in Dallas. And so Cowboys have all, are America's team or whatever. And I was like, that's right. Insert this guy's name here. You heard it here. the Cowboys are no longer America's team. It's the Lions. And he just lost it. He was like, he just cracked up. And then I was like, all right, now we can end the call. And everyone went away. But it's just like one of those moments in like corporate America. Yeah. Where I was like, see, we're all humans. We all have lives outside of work. Let's have a little bit of levity at the end of a business call. Mm-hmm. And, you know, everyone got a good chuckle out of it. And it made me happy. So anyways, that's my work Lion story. Go Lions. Let's end the episode.
Yeah, and I'm glad that the Packers knocked the Cowboys out of the playoffs.
I know. Good job. Way to go, Green Bay.
Woo. All right. Well, if you all want to check out more about us, check out the back catalog. We've got a feedback button on the website. Check out innerdialogue.show, and you can send your hate at Cam if you don't want the Lions to win.
It's all right. I'll pray for them.
Yeah. Otherwise, check out the innerdialogue.show. And if you're looking more about me, check out mitchcraig.online. And Cam, where can people find you?
CamBrennan.com.
CamBrennan.com. Sweet. All right, sir. It's been fun. I've appreciated your time this morning, and
likewise.
It's been a good time. So, all right. Have a great week.
Toodaloo.
Later.